Hey y'all, my name's Sarah. Welcome back to Sarah's Cardboard. Happy May 1st, full moon, and Beltane. It's a pretty energetically charged holiday today. Um, the first is usually considered the beginning of the month, obviously. It's a lot of time where modern witches will celebrate something to kick off a new cycle. And then you have the full moon tonight, which is the precipice of all of the energy and all the accumulation of what you've worked on over the course of the last new moon cycle. So from the new moon, when you cleanse everything out, until the full moon, where everything comes to like the peak of energy, and then it goes down to the new moon and it comes back down from the peak and then it clears out. So today is considered a fulfillment day with it being the full moon. And it's also Beltane. And Beltane is the halfway point between the spring and the summer equinox. So this is the day where witches celebrate fertility. Fertility is what comes before abundance. And usually on a day like today, on the 1st, you'll see witches blow cinnamon through their front door or utilize cinnamon in some sort of way to draw in abundance. And there's a problem with that because abundance does not come first. It's always going to be fertility first. There's the common saying of a bun in the oven when you're pregnant, right? And so, in order to become pregnant, you must be fertile. And Beltane is a beautiful, beautiful honoring of fertility, not of abundance. So, abundance is what comes as the result of you having fertile grounds. So, Beltane is the festival that honors the transition from the harsh and wet, rainy weather of early spring as we transition into the summer time where farmers are working their hardest, offspring are being created by cattle, and we are gearing up towards preparing our abundance for winter. Winter is the time where we have to rely on the resources we've already stocked up on. And so the cattle on your homestead have already depleted all of the nutrients in the grass and in the feed that you've stored up during wintertime. And so Beltane was when the farmers would drive their cattle out to greener pastures. And on that journey, they needed to protect them because this is their livelihood. Without their cattle, producing heirs, and without their cattle getting the nutrients, we won't have any milk, we won't have good hide. There's no way to continue the cycle of fertility and abundance so that way they can continue producing what they need for their farmland. You also have to think about restoring land to fertile times in order for you to grow crops on. You're not growing crops during winter. You're not breeding new children in your cattle during wintertime. Wintertime is when you're hunkered down and you're really relying on all of the efforts that you worked on during summer the year before. So now we're coming out of this transitionary period. The weather is starting to regulate. The sun is starting to come out. Babies are starting to get born. And you have to bring them somewhere that has fertile land and nutrients for them. That way you can continue the cycle. So Beltane began with honoring the blooms that were happening right then and there. That's why you see these yellow flowers right here. Yellow flowers are common decorations during Beltane because that was what was blooming at that time. This was before the other flowers would start to bloom as the weather starts to regulate. So, in honor of this hint of returning back to excess, okay, instead of moderating and trying to really hunker down and keep yourself from utilizing more than you need during the winter time. Now you're getting to the point of the year where the fruit is on the trees and you have more fruit than you can process and you have more flowers than you can use and you have more animals than you can feed. That's what Beltane's about. Beltane isn't about already having the abundance. Beltane is about celebrating the fertility that is required to get there. So I kind of wanted to talk about that because in modern witchcraft, you're always hearing about Beltane. And I even posted a video this morning talking about, honoring the fertility of the land before abundance. It rained today. I can't produce a bonfire for me to celebrate my May Day today. And that's okay because the land needs the water. I'm in Texas and we're in a perpetual drought because it's Texas. So any opportunity for it to rain, it's a time to celebrate. But because it put a damper on my holiday spirit, I didn't feel like honoring the rain. But the rain is so much more important than the fire that I wanted to produce today. So I honored the fertility before I honored the abundance. And then I'm scrolling, interacting, I'm having fun on TikTok, and then literally there is a card that is produced. It's like an oracle card, I'm assuming, and it says, Beltane, abundance is on its way. And it made me laugh because abundance is not on its way. Abundance is the byproduct of what you work so hard to produce. Abundance is the tangible evidence of all of your efforts throughout the year. You do not start out with abundance. You are not abundant when you begin. You are producing your Eight of Pentacles right now, if you will. And so when you think about fertility, fertility is not just the ability to become pregnant and to produce offspring. Though most of the time when you talk about fertility ritual, it's usually about women having a children or a woman being honored for having a child. But a woman cannot have a child unless their body is safe, they're nutritiously fed, and they have a good, safe system to exist within. And the same thing can be said about abundance. Abundance cannot exist in a home where all of your money is tied up and you have to constantly outsource all of the money that you're bringing into yourself. So if you're calling in abundance for money, but your entire life is falling around about you, you're going to constantly see that abundance get thrown away. Versus if your house is prepared for abundance and you've handled everything that you can and like you have systems in place to prevent a perpetual link of your money, then you can start seeing a savings account begin to grow. You begin to see your ability to purchase more items than you've ever been able to before. When you are unhealthy, so a good example would be like somebody who is really sick and they're not absorbing their nutrients correctly, and there's some sort of ailment that is preventing them from having a regulated cycle. um, they're not going to get pregnant very easily without some sort of intervention because their body is not safe to do so. It's the same with people who have spent their entire life being abused, or have been neglected, or have always been on that go, 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 very anxiety driven lifestyle. And then you put them in a safe environment until they feel safe, their body isn't going to react to being safe. And so they're going to be in this perpetual cycle of being anxious and stressed out and feeling like there's not enough and spend, 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 spend to try to fill a void within themselves. That's where the saying, you got to love yourself before you love someone else, or the saying of you need to pour into your cup before you pour into somebody else's. How do you love yourself when you have a leak that makes you not love yourself? How do you fill up your cup when your cup is always leaking? This is where patching up leaks in your system is very important. And we can go back to the farmer detail for that one, like the analogy there. If there is a farmer who has a bunch of chickens, but their system for keeping their chickens safe lacks and it's not well done, they're going to continue to see their chickens get eat up by coyotes. Or you have a garden that you had just built, but you have no bees that have ever visited your garden or any sort of pollinators, and you've never provided a way for a pollinator to come to your garden before. They won't know that your garden is there, and so your garden's going to flop at first. You're not going to see pretty flowers. You're not going to see a lot of fruit coming in. Same with like orchards, for example. You are required to provide a safe and stable environment that becomes a part of the norm in order to see the abundance. The abundance doesn't come until the systems are in place, until it is already designed and pre built for people to come. This can be said for also businesses. So, for example, I'm starting my business. I have a business I've been working on getting put together for about a year now. I did my first trial run in person. I hosted a booth where I provided divination based assistance to people. I did tarot and oracle, and it was super fun. Everyone said I was really accurate. It was a really enjoyable experience. But because it has never existed before that, trying to translate that into a full time business is a little harder because no one has ever come to me for that information up until then. And so I can't have abundance yet until I patch up the leaks. I have to be consistent. I have to be replicable. I have to show up, show out, and put it all out on the line. You have to go out into the fields and you have to tend the ground and you have to put the compost out there. You got to put the manure. You can't just plant the seeds and say, okay, I planted, I'm abundant now. Your seeds didn't sprout. Your seeds don't have the resources that they need to sprout into something yet. You have to go and do the work. I wrote an essay this week about how the Eight of Pentacles and the Hierophant always look like each other. The Eight of Pentacles is the power of tangible evidence. Pentacles is not just money, it's not just abundance in the form of wealth. Pentacles is the grounded version of anything you have ever worked on. And the eight is the power of that. And when you look at the traditional tarot deck, the Eight of Pentacles is a man sat down, toiling away till his fingers are bleeding, remaking the same thing over and over and over again until it is so beautiful that someone is willing to buy it. And then it turns into the Hierophant. The Hierophant is the tale's oldest time. It's the structure that people return to in their darkest of hours. This is like laying down the groundwork for any of your business stuff, the stuff that you enjoyed doing in the beginning and you got really good at doing. And when you're having a hard time selling something new, you go back to what you used to do before because you were really good at doing it and you get results again. Um, the Hierophant is normally associated with the church. So a little kid goes to church as a kid with his parents, and he's not really interested, but he's learning the foundation of what it means to be around people. He's learning what it's like to have community. He's learning structure. He's learning procedure. He's learning all of these set in stone ideals. And then he leaves as a teenager or as a young adult and leaves the church and tries to do something different and tries to defy all of the things about the church that he learned as a child, but he's not getting the same results. He's not as happy as he thought he would be without everything from the church. Then, depending on life, obviously, not everyone does this, but depending on life, you go back to the community you once had. You go back to the basics. You go back to church. And you start following all the guidelines that they had in place and you start seeing results. You start seeing you're less stressed out, you're less anxious, you're less lonely, you have more things to talk about, you have more opinions, you have more discussions you want to have with people. And the church is whatever is the foundation of yourself and your morals. So for me, my Bible is Ego is the Enemy. It is the one book that I will always return to. I will annotate over and over and over again. I will always learn a new lesson in a form of bibliomancy, which is the study of books and like pulling like divination out of a book. And it is the one thing that I know if I'm ever stressed out, I got nothing to talk about, I'm scared, I feel like everything I'm working on is failing and I'm just not able to produce anything worthwhile, I will go back to Ego is the Enemy and I will relearn exactly what I've always learned. And obviously the dots connect a little faster for me because I've already done it so many times. But that doesn't change the fact that that is my Bible. That is my morality code. That is the basics of information that I use to navigate everything that I do. And what's so fun about Ego is the Enemy is one of the things that Ryan Holiday talks about is talking about your work before you get it done. Where people will say, oh, I'm an artist, right? I'm an artist and I'm going to own a business and I'm so excited to be an artist. And then they sit on their phone and they don't do any of their art ever. They don't do their scratches. They don't do like their artwork. They don't do their scribbles. They don't do the old things that they learned in art school that keep their foundations fresh. Instead, they just keep trying to produce new and new and new and talk about it. And they're so stressed out. And in their head, they feel like they're getting work done, but they have nothing to show for it. That is ego. And that is a beautiful example of the Eight of Pentacles. And it's even an example right here, right now with this YouTube video. This is only YouTube video number 3. Yeah, I've been working on this since November of last year. It has been almost 7 months. And I have very little tangible evidence to show that I am putting out a business to the world that is worth being purchased. And so put your pen to the paper, you show up and you do your work. You stop talking about it. I had a little list of things that I wanted to accomplish this week. First thing was setting up this set, so that way when I sat down to record this video, it felt complete. I didn't have to keep talking about the witch supplies I wanted to buy and the things I wanted to put together and how I wanted it to look, because every time I talked about it, I got nowhere. This room stayed a blank slate. None of my things were put out. None of my things were unpacked. There was no art on the walls. There was nothing displaying my crochet or all of my like supplies until I sat down, put it all together, and now I never have to sit down and do it again, and I already have the thing I built without my ego saying I already did it, because in my head it was done. In my head I knew where all the supplies was. In my head I knew everything I wanted on the bookshelf. But that doesn't mean it was out here in the tangible evidence. And so now, anytime I'm stressed out and anxious and I feel like I have nothing to show for the day, it's as simple as I turn on that camera, I see myself in my reflection, I see how beautiful my background is, and I just talk. So that is the example of laying the groundwork, the fertile space. My area has become fertile ground no matter what it looks like, because I put the effort in for the fertility there. I can turn around and pull anything off of this desk or off of my supplies cart or anything right in front of me and behind me and talk about it. That's fertility. That is not abundance. Abundance is what you do with it and what gets done afterwards. So, my videos, that is abundance. That is not fertile ground. But me sitting right here, my makeup done, my outfit cute, my freaking pinky rings on, that is what today's about. That is what Beltane's about. Beltane is a celebration of I set up my set, I'm sitting and recording. Who knows? Maybe I'm going to hate the way this sounds. I'm going to watch this back. I'm not going to edit it because I never edit my videos because that was something I was always so stuck on was learning how to edit and learning how I wanted my words to flow and writing a script that I never followed, and it got me nowhere. It did not produce what I wanted it to produce until I finally got over myself on my last two YouTube videos and I sat down and just recorded it in one take and let it go. And then I watched it back. I enjoyed the information. I felt it was all accurate to what I believe in my philosophies, what I wanted to convey, and they remain. And I don't feel like taking them down. I don't feel like taking them away. I don't feel like that the tangible evidence of all of my Eight of Pentacles was worth removing because now I can keep going and keep building. Eventually, I will upgrade this camera. Eventually, I won't need a USB mic. Eventually, there'll be beautiful lighting, and maybe I won't even have this room. Maybe I'll have a studio or an office space that I have my clients go and meet me at, and like everything will be better for it. But that doesn't happen until I do the work now. And it's the same thing with like farmers, for example. You don't just buy land and out of nowhere you're a farmer. You buy land because you have to learn how to water your plants, how to store your plants once they're harvested, how to return back to the soil what you need in order for it to be fertile the next year. Rotating your plots, cycling through the location that you're planting your seeds and knowing how to harvest the seeds back from the food that you just planted and grew for yourself. That way, you have a perpetual cycle of procedures and rituals already laid out that you know how it works, when it works, what it's going to do, and what it's going to produce. That's the fertility. That's the Eight of Pentacles turning into the Hierophant. Because eventually, a tale's all this time, you can show up at Grandpa's farm and he's going to tell you exactly how to get all them apples nice and juicy and sweet and all the tips and tricks into storing them and all the ways he's going to can them up and sell them to make the money back. That does not happen overnight. That happens because you sit down, you toil with your fingers until your fingers are bloodied, until you're damning everything that you work on, and you're pissed off and you're so frustrated because it's just not as beautiful as you hoped it would be. But someone somewhere will see that beauty. And either they're going to follow you from your entire journey, from producing crap to producing art, or they're going to sit back and observe and wait until it's art. Or they're never going to participate, but were they the people you wanted them to participate in your art anyway? You don't know that until you sit down and do the work. Until you sit down and you open the bookings or you open the commissions and you get people willing to work with you as you turn into the Hierophant, until you turn into replicable and honorable and integrous and someone that no matter what, they are open and available. You can't be that until you're open and available when you don't want to be. You're not open and available until you're not making any money because farmers don't always make money. Um, so like even though today's the full moon, which means fulfillment. That's the full moon is when you go from the new moon and you clear everything out. You pick a goal, you work on it until the full moon, and then you can do a ritual to bring it to fulfillment today, or you honor where the amount of work you've done. Then you wind down until the clear off. So today's fulfillment. It's the first, so it's also the new beginnings, and it's Beltane, so it's the halfway point. So it's both the start, the middle, and the end today. And so celebrate it. Celebrate wherever you're at. Celebrate whether it's the beginning and you're uploading your first video, or you're making your first art piece, or you're making your first crochet item and you're trying to sell it, okay? You're beginning. Or you're in the middle and you're seeing yourself get more consistent and excited and you're proud of it and you want to share it. Or you're at the end where you're already established and you already have the followers and you already have the bookings and the festivals under your belt. Today is the day to celebrate all of that. So celebrate you, because if you don't celebrate you, no one else is going to celebrate you. I celebrate me. I'm celebrating me right now. My bookings are officially open. I officially am offering a divination-based advisement session for long-term reoccurring clients. I'm taking all of the work that I've put in, all of my understanding, all of the hard, long hours of testing out my tarot language over and over and over again for free, or on myself, or on my friends, or for funsies, until it is so applicable and so repetitive, and it's always the same result no matter what I do, I waited until I hit that point, and now I'm in the middle point, and I'm able to say, hey, I am so confident in my information. I am so confident in my frameworks and all of the hard work I've done. And here's the evidence, I have done the in person festivals, I have done the on live streams, I have done the personal readings I have been paid for, I have done readings for friends that never thought that I would give them the information that they have. I've done all the work to say, I'm ready to it's here. It's offered. It's not done. It's not finished. I don't have my reoccurring clients that I plan to have for life. I don't have the frameworks and the structures that I've always wanted to see. I don't have the books written, but I'm writing the books. I have several essays ready to be compiled and shared. I have multiple frameworks of ideas and ideologies and philosophies being discussed, even when no one's in the room to discuss them with me. That's the middle part. I'm here on Beltane ready to share. And so I'm sitting in front of the screen and sharing with you that today is not about the completion, but if it is, it is. Because once you're abundant, what do you do with it? You don't just get to the finish line and you're done. You know, the saying goes, okay, I've worked so hard. I'm so tired. I've gathered all the resources. I learned. I know what to do now. What do we do? Now it's time to play the game. So, welcome to Beltane. Welcome to May 1st, and welcome to the full moon. Welcome to Sarah's cardboard. I am so excited to have you here with me. I'm excited to hopefully see you again. I'm excited to sit down and record, even when I don't know what I'm going to talk about, even though I have no script in front of me, even though I can't maintain eye contact on camera. It doesn't matter because I'm sitting down, I'm doing the work, and eventually it's going to get to the point where it all looks the same, where it's nice and easy and digestible, and my information's easy to follow. And either you're going to grow with me from the beginning as we get there, you're going to jump in once we get there, or you're going to jump in along the way. It doesn't matter because I'm going to be present for every single point and I'm going to celebrate me every single stop of the way. So, thank you so much for jumping in. Thank you for listening to my take on fertility versus abundance and why fertility is always far more important than abundance. And I look forward to seeing where you end up fertile at next.